I'm in the middle of a garage workout today, and I really started reminiscing on my years in business. I've been in business in my coaching and training since 2011. So over 14 years at the time of filming this video. And even before that, I had to think about my time as an athlete and the goals I had and the delusional amount of self-belief I had to operate in to chase my dreams and my goals. And it is wild. Like, you make big dreams, almost silly dreams as a young kid that probably aren't even possible. But you chase them as if you know nothing else. Like, nobody can tell you no. And I built this crazy amount of self-belief in myself to just continue on and go after it, even when the odds didn't even feel possible to achieve them. And I was thinking about that. And then I was thinking about when I started my business and my TV show, and I was doing all of these things with no credentials and no financial backing and nobody telling me how to do it. And I just kept doing it. And I kept on dreaming the way that I wanted to do it and what I saw in my mind and when I closed my eyes, what I saw, and I just tried to create it. And it takes this dumb amount of self-belief. And I got thinking, what are some of these areas that I had to develop this self-belief in? And how did I actually develop it? And where did it come from? And I wanted to share a little bit of that. I don't even know if I captured the essence of it perfectly. But I think this next portion of the video is going to lay out some things for you to help the journey of if you struggle with just believing in yourself to make something happen, this is going to help start rooting your self-belief. Let's get into it.
All right, you guys, such a big part of your success has to do with your self-belief and how you're actually viewing yourself. We've been on this. We've talked so much about our identity and how we have to be rooted in our identity so we can continue on through struggles. We can actually achieve the desires of our heart and get to where we want to be. And with that becomes there's a deep self-belief that needs to be established, that needs to be developed. Think about that word, be developed. And we have to be aware of what it really means in our life to be rooted in self-belief, you guys. So there's a piece to this. And self-belief always starts in our spirit and then has to survive the migration to our mind. So every deep belief begins in your spirit. It's that gut conviction that says, I'm meant for more. You guys know you've had those feelings like, oh, I should have listened to my gut. Like I knew better. I felt it. That's your spirit. You feel that deep within you. And there's many times a day, if we slow down and pause and start becoming in tune with this and feel these times, that we're always led by this. Even like the desires that you have are in your spirit. And you can start dictating the difference between the desires of your heart and like carnal thinking in our mind. And so really think about that. As we know, like we've talked about in the past, like as a man thinks in his heart, as so he is. So that's what it's talking about when it says that you hear it so often where it's like people say, yeah, as a man thinks, that's how he is. And it's like, no. It's as a man thinks in his heart, so he is. How our spirit actually leads us, that is how that happens. Okay, and so there's the hard part though, is we think here our actually true thoughts are here, and then it has to survive that migration to the mind. The spirit believes quickly, but the mind fights it and doubts it with fear and doubt, old stories, because all of our old experiences, the things we've been told and taught, do play a factor. Our environment plays a factor. All the indoctrination that we have in one way or the other plays a factor in how we view our current reality. So we actually have to start questioning those things and start being in tune with our spirit, our first thoughts, and so it can survive the migration to the mind. Okay? Self-belief survives when you let it take root in both places, spirit and mind. It starts here, but it also has to take root here. Think about be transformed by the renewing of our mind. You've heard that verse, I'm sure. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. What do you think happens? That's the survival of that migration from our heart. As a man thinks in his heart, it survives, and then we're renewed in our mind daily, or the spirit of our mind, as you've heard that before, I'm sure, too. And so we can start actually making these sayings, making these scriptures, making these things real to us, because they're not just supposed to be like, used as a weapon against us, or to hold us captive against something, or make us feel bad or guilty. They're actually meant to become deeper and real to us. And so that word here, that word renewing, be transformed by the renewing of our mind, that word is anakainos in the Greek. Kainos itself, it's two words made into one, anakainos. Kainos means never before seen, like to be made new in a never before seen way. Not like you restore a car, and you're like, oh, I restored this Mustang and it's beautiful and it's just like new. No. It's like seeing a Mustang that just came out that you've never seen before, and it blows your mind. It's unprecedented. That's what kainos means. It's unprecedented. You've never dreamed anything like it. That's how your mind's made new. But guess what? Anna means before it. Anakainos. Anna actually means it's like the midst or in between space, and it's actually means a denoting motion from a lower place to a higher place. Visualize that. So now we have this belief, never before seen, new, unprecedented belief, moving from a higher place, our lower place, to a higher place, our other mind, right? We have a mind in our heart and a mind in our head. And so it's surviving that migration. Why is this important? So we can stop negotiating with the doubts that we feel. When you know who you are, you stop negotiating with doubt. It might still hit you, but now you're not sitting with it. Now you're not questioning yourself. Now you're not going into an anxiety spiral spin of what you're trying to accomplish, what you're dreaming of. Because you're so rooted in who you are, that self-belief grows and you stop negotiating with that doubt. So what's the foundation of all this, you guys? Look at my little beautiful little tree over here in the soil. What's the foundation of that? Because there has to be a foundation to this piece where this starts to feel and it's growing into our mind, that anakainos, that moving from a lower place to a higher place and being completely made new. It's giving yourself grace. It really is. We all want to push and grind and keep moving forward, and those are real things. But the truth is, growth is not linear. You've all seen stock market charts or crypto charts, and you see it's going up, but then you see a fall, then an up, a bigger up, and a fall, maybe a really far fall, but then an up. That's growth. There's ups and downs, there's peaks and valleys, there's ebbs and flows of that all. But giving yourself grace doesn't mean lowering your standards. It actually means recognizing the setbacks, struggles, and the bad days, and they don't define you. They're learning moments. And we have to change our mindset that things do not happen to us, rather they happen for us. And when we realize that, that's giving ourselves grace. Now we have to be honest with ourselves, because we can be delusional in our thinking that I'm giving myself grace in this, when really you're copping out. So you need to be honest with yourself. You need to get with somebody who helps hold you accountable, that they can call you out on that. And you can be like, I'm going to self-evaluate on that. And yeah, you're right. Or maybe they're wrong. But oftentimes when you get the right accountability partner, they help question you, and they're bringing up these questions in you and for you to take and then be honest with yourself. That's why the renewing of your mind is so important, because if that's not happening, you're not able to actually be real with yourself. You'll keep lying to yourself and being delusional in this. Real grace pushes you deeper into that revelation. Real grace actually keeps you from burnout. Real grace is the soil for belief. Grace is not weakness. It is fuel for resilience. That is what it is. So your identity now is the root system. Grace is the foundation, the soil, and our identity takes root in that soil. Self-belief is fragile. It can be, or it can be like this down here. It can be very strong. It can be an oak. Nothing breaks an oak. It's deep rooted. But your self-belief can be fragile if it's not tied to who you are. If it's tied to who you are versus what you do, that's when it's strong. If your belief system is based on titles and opinions and circumstances, belief will always be shaken. Your self-belief will always be shaken when your identity is tied to those things. But when your root system or your identity in something is, or when your identity is very strong in your values, in your character, your God-given uniqueness, it anchors your self-belief. It's the bedrock. And then it's unshakable. That's amazing. When you know who you are, man, you stop negotiating with that doubt. I just love that. Anchor your identity. And that anchor then protects our self-belief. This is why I talk so much about identity in our program to all of you. Because we have to know who we truly are. That keeps us locked in, and that self-belief actually then takes root deep down into that, and that self-belief then begins to blossom and grow into this strong tree. When everything's strong, do you think you're giving any time to fear? Do you think you're giving any time to doubt? Do you think you're giving any time to these things? No, of course not. Because you're anchored. That's what anchored is. That's what being deep into the soil is. That's why you have a bedrock of things. And the ripple effect is huge. It's massive. It's contagious. And so self-belief isn't just personal. It's very contagious. It shapes your family. It shapes your friends. It shapes your inner circle. It shapes everybody eventually who you come in contact with. It's the episkiazo. That's another Greek word for it. It's an overshadowing that changes people. And you don't have to try to change people. You don't have to aim to change your community or to change your family. You can get so rooted in who you are and your self-belief that you can start feeling things before they happen. That's how you actually make things happen. And that then gives people permission, the people you're around, to be themselves. When you live rooted in self-belief, you give others permission to rise. The world doesn't just change because you shout louder or you try harder. It changes because you lived more rooted in who you are. A man rooted in self-belief is a lighthouse. Rooted belief awakens that light in the lighthouse that you are. Self-belief doesn't make you a lighthouse. You already are a lighthouse. But as that self-belief starts to arise, it awakens that lighthouse in you. And you start to shine without trying. You start to change things. You actually change. You actually achieve what you want to achieve. You actually lose the 50 pounds. You actually get in shape. You actually get the job you want. You actually grow your business. You actually have a thriving marriage. You actually have children with great relationships with each other and you. You have all the things that you actually desire. So are you surviving? I almost wanted to name this like surviving the migration of self-belief, or surviving, that migration from the heart to the mind. And I was like, no, because this isn't about surviving. This is about being rooted in who you truly are. And when you are rooted in who you truly are, your self-belief continues to blossom in everything that you desire. You have to ask yourself, what is it that I want? That is a very hard question. It's actually not an easy thing that you can just be like, I want a couple of these things. So you can do that. It's much deeper than that. What is it that you want? Think about that. What is it that you want? truly. Take time with that, get deep with that, because that is how you'll start discovering who you truly are. You guys, I hope this hits. Let's continue to develop. And remember, live beyond average.